Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today. My guest today is Caleb Davis of Three Doors. Caleb has built a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio, which has allowed him to become financially free at the age of 30. He has also built a $40 million agent team in just 3 years. And I would say he has a pretty impressive track record. So I can't wait to dive into all of this. Welcome to the show, Caleb.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be on this. We had you on our podcast not too long ago, and we had so much fun. So I'm sure it's going to be another great episode.
I know. So 30 years old, financially free at the age of 30. We got a lot to cover here. So let's roll it back a little bit and start out by telling everyone exactly how you got started in real estate.
Yeah. So my first ever real estate purchase, I was 19 and I bought a single family home for $15,000. That was my first adventure into real estate, my first step. And at 19, bought a house and I rented the other 3 rooms out. We had to do a bit of work to it. I put it on credit cards, things like that. Had an asset-based loan, rented the rooms out. And it was really great because I lived for free. Living for free was amazing. I was able to stockpile cash and, really keep my expenses as low as possible. So that was like the first really, really big step. When I was 21, turning 22, so kind of right in that mix, I started the deal at 21, ended it at 22, but I found an opportunity to buy an 8-family. And that was like really what was able to catapult me forward is I bought it through creative financing. So the seller, only 3 of the units were occupied. The other 5 were completely uninhabitable. And I got the seller to finance 20% down. And I found a bank that would finance the other 80% if the seller held 20% back. So I was able to buy that property with about no money out of pocket. And I used what cash I had to make the building quit looking like it was falling down on the outside and get 1 unit ready. And then I was out of cash. And so I got my first month's rent deposit and then I went and I took that money and I did another apartment. And it was interesting because granted, the 3 people that were paying rent were not ideal tenants. They're not people that I wanted in a building, but I needed their rent money. And so I couldn't really make the building to the level I wanted it. So I had to continually rent to people that were not ideal candidate tenants. And I just slowly did this and turned the 5 apartments and got paint and water and cleaned up the flooring to make them slightly inhabitable so they could pass occupancy. And then that took about 9 months. And then I got the other 3 people out. And so we kind of started this reaction going back through the other 8 units the second year I had the building. And finally, I turned this thing into a cash flow machine. I think I was making somewhere around 2,500 or 3,000 a month on good months. And at 22 years old, that was really, really great.
That was huge. That's huge though. That's life-changing.
Yeah, it was absolutely life-changing because I was making 30 grand a year working a full-time job at that point. And here now I'm making that off of 1 8-family apartment building. It was great. So once I rock and rolled and had that going, I saved up about $30,000. And then I found another house. This one was going to be a rental property. I met some people no, you need to flip houses. You got to get a stockpile of cash. So I decided to flip the house. Once again, I got a seller to carry back part of the note. I paid off what expenses he had on the home. And this is 2013, 2014. So very different than today. A lot easier to get sellers to carry back part of the note. You can still happens today, but back then they just couldn't sell their houses because we were still in a downward market. That one was fun. I spent all my money to buy the house, my full $30,000, and then I racked up a lot of credit cards to fix it up. And I was a do-it-yourself guy. I went, banged out all the work, did it myself. I think I put $20,000 in credit cards. It's kind of scary because I put more money on credit cards than I knew how to pay off ever. And I ended up selling the house and making a really nice $15,000 profit. And at this point in time, we're really winning. We're I think I'm 23 at this point in time, and I got about $40,000 or $45,000 in the bank. And I just think I'm the richest person there is. So I flip one more house. It goes well. And in a second, this is where things start to go a little downward. So I flip one, goes well, and I did it in 3 weeks and I made $10,000. And that is when I'm all right, time to quit my job. I got this flipping thing figured out. I'm going to be so rich. And I go into my third deal, and someone who was mentoring me sold me the house, and he told me it was a really good deal. I trusted him. I should not have. And I bought a really bad house. I bought a house that I couldn't sell. and I should have known better. It was in an area I wasn't familiar with. He told me I could for sure get $70,000 out of this thing. I ended up going all the way down to 50, wasn't able to sell. I was going to lose money at this point. And I had to get creative. I had to think. And I'm like, well, I got all my money tied up in this house. I don't have a job. What am I going to do? So I ended up placing a tenant, and I did a contract for deed with the tenant. So I got a $10,000 down payment, which stimulated me with cash. I needed cash.
Mhm.
And that was a really, really big eye opener for me too. Back then about, man, you can do contract for deed and get large down payments. This is awesome. Refinanced it from the bank, got most of my money out, but not all. And then I was kind of sitting there like a little burnt out on real estate, not sure what to do. Had to go back and work on my rental property a little more because I think I had some tenants move out. It was still, that thing was just a nightmare, right? It was an 8-family low income. And I went through an interesting period where I wasn't sure if I was going to flip houses. I didn't want to scale it. And I was only about 23, 24 years old. I didn't know anyone with money really. I didn't know how to go
Mhm.
raise capital, and I couldn't find hard money. This was St. Louis. Back then, there wasn't many hard money companies, and in Southern Illinois, there was none. It was very, very hard to find people to fund new money. So I actually partnered with somebody for that year. We did a 50-50 partnership. He brought the cash. I would find the deals and make sure they got done. That year, we flipped 8 houses, which this was like the greatest thing that happened to me for that year, because I was in this really bad area, really bad period, and I just started asking questions and finding the right people. Luckily, I connected with Matt. Partnered with Matt for a year. I think I made somewhere around like $130,000, $140,000. And I was like 24 years old, 25 years old. I'm like, wow, we're rich again. We're doing great. And life was good. Life was really, really good for a bit there. And then I went back out on my own because Matt decided we didn't want to partner anymore. And all of a sudden I did a couple of flips, and I had another one go really bad that just so happened to be on my own. There are always the flips on my own. This time I lost about $30,000.
Ooh.
This was a really, really tough period of my life. For me personally, it was when I was, I think I was 25, 26, lost 30 grand on a house, and I just wasn't sure if flipping was for me. I got very depressed. I lost my way, and really just kind of took about 6 months to like figure out, where is Caleb going to go in life? And I let my emotions and my mental state control my life and control my destiny. And because of that, I took a lot of steps backwards from where I felt like I could have been. And that was a really, really tough moment. I had to go through some soul searching, some really deep diving, and realize that I can overcome my emotions, and I can overcome mental illness, and I can do this. And it took me about 6 months, but I did. I went through a really tough period and then came out much, much better on the other side. So I would say that is kind of the first beginning to my real estate investing journey, to answer that question in a very long way.
That is such an interesting story, because people have tough times. A lot of people have tough times. Some people have tougher times than others, but they kind of just blow it off like, well, it happened, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And I love the fact that you own that. And it's such a big lesson for other people to know that, yes, this happens to everybody, to some degree or another. We all do bad deals. You don't do the same bad deal twice usually. You learn from it. But for somebody, especially your age, you were doing very advanced stuff. I mean, you were diving in. You weren't doing a simple little single family paint and carpet type of flip, which there aren't that many of those for sure. But you took on big deals and you did it. And each time, what I love is that you kind of assessed what happened. What happened? What did I do wrong? And then what can I do to not do the same thing again? So was it then that you met up with the people at Three Doors and started working with them?
Right around that time period is when I joined what was the affiliate program at Three Doors.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan and Jim really became my mentors and started helping me a lot in business. I still ran my own business in Illinois, which was Alexander Properties was our name then, or my name, I guess it's not our, but yeah. So I ran Alexander Properties, and then I started Davis Realty Group and became a licensed realtor about a year later. Became business partners with a guy named Shane. Shane was essentially one of my best friends. We'd grown up together. He was a construction guy. And what we were doing is I was the agent. I would find the deals. I funded the deals. It was Shane's responsibility to get them done. We did that for about a year and a half. Shane passed away. And when Shane passed away, I decided that I didn't want to flip houses anymore. It was no longer fun. My best friend passed away that I was doing it with. And I went into buying rentals, but there was no flipping. And then I built my agent business up. That became my whole thing, was like, I'm going all in on the agent business. After my second year of being an agent, when I was closing 27 million, Ryan and Jim were like, hey, we need to talk to you because it's taken us 10 years to get to this point and you did it in 2. And that was when we started talking about becoming business partners and me joining Three Doors. So that's how the Three Doors thing happened.
I think that is so impressive that you did that. You did all the things that you did in your 20s, and then you become a partner in an established business in 3 years. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was it's a blessing. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I know I would have been successful on my own, but the ability to accelerate my growth so fast, like I accelerate myself, and then joining Three Doors, I'm able to stay in my genius zone so much. In a triple business partnership is really interesting. A lot of people, I guess,
Mhm.
they say that those don't work often. They're like, if there's 3 business partners, that's hard. But the 3 of us really are able to balance and stay in our zones, and it works really, really well for the 3 of us.
Well, and I
Yeah,
know 2 of you. I don't know your third partner, Ryan, although he did pop in when I was interviewing Jim. He popped in to say hi, but I think it's interesting that you all have figured it out because business partnerships are not easy and they often don't end well. But you all seem to have, you know how to stay in your own lane, know what you're good at, know what your role is in the business. And you all seem to have done really a good job of that.
Yeah, I think the most important part for us, as far as like our partnership, is definitely understanding our job, and we
Mhm.
all don't want to let each other down. So, and
Right.
each of us, at least me and I feel that we all have this. None of us ever want to feel like we're not pulling more weight than the others, and so we all try to work harder than the other person, if that makes sense, and
Yeah.
provide more value for the company. And that's hard to say, but I feel like a lot of partnerships, there's always one person that seems to be like working way harder and the other
Hmm.
person's down here. But with us, the 3 of us just consistently push each other, and we all check each other really well. So there's not like, hey, like, why'd you do this wrong? Blah, like pointing fingers. It's like, hey, what can I do to help you out? Are you struggling in this area right now? And it's not much. Like, the accountability we have is really good and really healthy.
That is so interesting. Now I know a little bit about how the business works at Three Doors, and you are on the agent side. You are, I guess, the what I don't know what your title is, but a team leader of. You're in charge of the agents. Have I got that right? You're the team.
So I used to be. So we hired a new. Now what I do is I run all the team leaders. So we have,
All oh, okay.
yeah. So we have a lead generation director, which I'm kind of subbing in as. We have our lease purchase division, which places all of our lease purchase tenants. I currently am running the director role of that. We have an acquisitions team, which has about 11 guys. I run Joe, who's the director of that. And we have Jack, who's our director of our retail, which is our realtor division. Manage Jack. And so my role is just making sure all the directors and kind of filling in where we don't have directors at right now for the different sales teams.
Okay.
So I'm just
Oh,
all sales departments managing the people who manage them until we're able, or managing that department until we have enough revenue to fill in those gaps.
that's a big job.
It is a big job. And I have to jump into a lot of different meetings. I like it a lot because it keeps me on my toes. So I'm really
Mhm.
good with adapting quick and being able to be creative in different situations, I would say. So one day I'm in a meeting about selling houses on lease purchase and how we can scale that. And then the next day it's all agent meetings and then it's acquisition meetings. So being able to adapt is what keeps me happy and makes me fulfilled. So it's a really good role for me because I'm bouncing around so much, but there's a lot of people I manage for sure.
Mhm. I can tell you have a lot of energy. I'm just sitting here wishing I had. You could send some of that over to my way, kind of like bouncing. I can see you bouncing off the walls, keeping all these balls in the air.
Yeah, it's I definitely have a lot of energy. Luckily, I'm very young. I don't know how long I'll have this energy, but currently 30 and still full of it. But I imagine for a long time I will be.
Mhm.
It's not going
Yeah.
anywhere quick.
Well, let me talk a little bit about how you built this agent team, this huge $40 million agent team in 3 years. What is special about Caleb that allowed you to do that?
So really nothing is special about me. I don't think I'm a special person. I read a lot of books that told me how to do it. I know that seems silly, but we focused on lead generation, and I'm pretty sure you guys have talked about that many times. Everybody knows what the
Mhm.
80-20 principle is. So it's always I was very big about hiring the next person before I needed them. And I was very
Mhm.
fortunate that I hired some really, really talented people early on that helped me grow at such a fast pace. That and lots of great mentors. So the first step was I brought in a transaction coordinator and director of operations. amazingly talented. My first transaction coordinator was with me for 2 years, and then we went in-house, and our second director of ops that we brought in has been with us since then. So we've really
Wow.
been fortunate to make those key hires early on. I would say probably one of the top three things that made me successful was the first people I hired were incredibly talented and the right people for the role. And we did a really good job of interviewing them. I took a class called Career Visioning that Keller Williams has, I think 4 times in person and 1 time virtual. And that's the process of hiring people, how to interview them. The second thing that we did really good is being able to set good expectations with our buyer's agents and listing agents on our team, that we're not just going to pump you full of business. You also need to generate about 40 to 50% of your own business. I see a lot of teams, they don't set expectations well, and they let their agents just think they're going to give them all the business. But we let them early on. First 30 days, you have to make 1,000 phone calls. If you don't make that 1,000 phone calls, see ya, you're gone. You're not on the team. So it's like a rite of passage to come onto the team and get leads, is you have to generate your first 2 deals and do 1,000 phone calls in 30 days. If you're not able to do that, then you're not a right fit for what was Davis Realty Group at that point in time. And we set really, really big, high expectations, and we gave people a big vision to where they could grow inside of it. I always let everybody know what I wanted to do. We're going to be $100 million sales team. We're going to have directors of all the different roles. We knew where we were going. We had that vision mapped out, and it allowed us to get talented people into our world and keep them in our world. Because a big issue that a lot of teams have is they'll get an agent, they teach them how to sell $5 million in real estate, and then that agent doesn't see them able to grow inside of that rainmaker's world, because they feel like they're only ever going to be able to be a buyer's agent. So we cast a vision big enough that somebody never sees themselves able to leave our vision.
So your people they have to buy into the vision right from the beginning. If they're
Oh
going to
yeah,
be kind of a low, I want to sell 5 houses a year or list 5 houses a year, they're not your person, and you get that out of the way right away.
correct. Yeah. So if you don't want to do 30 or 40 units a year, then you're not going to be right for our team. That's very, very quick. You need to want to do 3 or 4 deals a month.
That's so interesting. So I do think that the vision that you create right from the beginning is responsible for a lot of your success. If you have very low expectations, then you're not going to attract the right and keep the right people. Like you said, they're just going to go somewhere else where the vision is bigger. And a lot of companies aren't really good at casting that vision for their employees. Everything is a secret. It's they don't share financials, and they don't share things like that. And the people have to be able to see that they are contributing to not that they should see salaries and everything, but they have to be able to see the big picture, the big financial picture, the big goals. They have to be able to see that. Otherwise, how can they buy into that?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody doesn't know where you want to go, and they're going to think that you're keeping all the money for yourself.
Right.
They aren't going to, and everyone wants to know that they're going to grow. They want to know that they're going to grow as a person. But we were always very open about like what I made. I was very open about what every agent made, what everybody closed. Every meeting, like we talked about that. Everyone knew what my salary was the whole time through Davis Realty Group. There was no hiding it, because I wanted to be very open and letting people know. Every meeting I would talk about like, hey, this is where I see us going. These are our next hires. This is who we're looking for. This is what we want to do next. This is where we want to go in 12 months. And I always try to think of creatively, like my director of ops, Cody, what do you want to do? Cody always wants to make $100,000 a year. Okay, here's what we need to do, Cody, to get to the place where you need to make $100,000. I had an agent on my team at one point. He's like, Caleb, I want to have a staging company. I said, great. I would love to open a staging company with you. I think you're one of the most talented people I've ever met. Here's X, Y, and Z, what I need you to do. I'll put up the money. I'll put up some of the business side of it. And I just need this from you. COVID happened and the market took off and staging quit being as popular. So we never did that. But I always ask the questions to my team members, like, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? What's your goal? And then let's figure something out backwards from there to make sure that we can stay in business together.
Yeah. What do you like to do and what do you hate to do? That's if you need someone to do A, B, and C and they hate A, B, and C, then maybe they'll succeed in a different role, but they're not going to succeed in that role.
Yeah, and keeping people like in their like genius zone of where they're talented is definitely important, because if they don't like their job, they're not going to stay. There's no way.
Now, what is the single biggest thing or trait or quality you look for in a new hire?
Competitiveness. So I want competitive. I want people.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I look for people who played high school or college sports. That's really, really important to me when I'm hiring someone for salespeople. I like people that they know how to work on a team. They know how to take direction in coaching, and they want to be better. They want to elevate themselves. If somebody does not want to grow to another level, then yeah, they absolutely, that's the easiest thing. If you're competitive, you played sports, you're probably going to work in my world.
Probably would not have necessarily thought of sports, but that's an interesting way to look at it. Competitiveness in one way is going to be competitiveness in a different way.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people that did other things that are competitive that didn't play sports, but that's a very direct like correlation that I found at
Mhm.
least. And I like to want to hang out with people that I hire. So I usually like, if you like sports, I probably like you, and I probably want to hang out with you.
So, what training processes do you have for your people? I mean, you've got your culture, you've got your expectations. They know what is expected of them. And how do you help them succeed?
Yeah, so we have a what we call a 30, 60, 90, very similar to KW. A 30-day goal, 60-day goal, and 90-day goal. If you don't hit those at any point, you fire yourself from the company. So the first 90 days are very laid out of here's everything you're going to do from start to finish.
Mhm.
After that, we have 2 Tuesday trainings every week. So we have an agent and an acquisition that are separate, and then we have an in-house training where it comes together. And then every Wednesday, we do a random educational thing that me and Jim and Ryan will just go and whatever people are hearing in coaching, whatever people are talking about, current problems, we just talk about different things on our Wednesday trainings. Sometimes we interview people, which is how we met you. And then on Thursdays, we have a business consultant, Eric B, that does a sales training for our salespeople as well. So we have essentially 4 trainings a week that they're able to plug into, plus one-on-one coaching.
Okay. And do people take advantage of those? Or do they kind of take advantage of them or what?
So the one-on-one coaching is mandatory. You have to go to that. If you do not,
Mhm.
oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second. I don't know. My internet's kind of cutting in and out. You have to go to the Tuesday trainings and you have to go to the Thursday trainings. The Wednesdays are optional to listen to. And then the one-on-one coaching is 100% mandatory. So
Okay.
4 of the 5 are mandatory. One of them is optional.
And that's every week. The one-on-one is not every week with
It's
everybody,
every
though.
other week. Every other week.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. You'll have a lot of team members.
Yeah, we do a lot of one-on-ones. There's a lot of, which is why we have to have so many directors. But we're able to stay so close and stay so connected to each team member because we're talking to them on such a deep level so frequently.
That's interesting. So you are managing all these directors, but the directors are managed like they would host the meeting for the agents, let's say.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, and then I'm there as a backup. If they're out of town, they're on vacation, I'll run the meeting. Or if they need ideas on what to train on, then I'm there to help. Same with Ryan and Jim.
okay, I'm trying to wrap my brain around how you're doing all these trainings there for a hot minute. It's like, okay, he's only one person.
Yeah, so Eric B does the Thursdays. Me, Ryan, and Jim just kind of do a free for all on Wednesdays, and then the Tuesdays we try to build a schedule out of what we're training, and it follows around that. So those are pretty easy to follow. I would say the one-on-ones are much of like very personal. We have a list of questions we ask. We do what's called a cash call, or a 411. So we alternate those.
Okay. So you have a system for all of this stuff. And I think that is probably the biggest predictor of success is you have a system, you have a process for getting all of this done.
Yeah, if we didn't have a system, we'd be running around like a bunch of, I don't know, crazy people. But we very much, I would say we could be better at systems. We have really good systems though for where we're at in our compared to the other people who are at the level I feel like we are that I know. Our systems are very good for our training and getting people into production. That's something that we're extremely good at, is getting people to their first deal, their second deal, and teaching them how to grow their business quickly.
That is so interesting and such a wise way to do business for sure. I'm going to ask you this 2 ways. What do you wish you had known with regards to real estate when you first got started that you didn't know?
Oh, I wish I knew how easy it was to do deals if you just find money. So to me, it always felt so hard to find money, but I didn't know how to find money. And then now
Mhm.
that I know like where money is, it's like I can find deals all over the place. I think I waited too long to hire mentors and coaches that I would have learned a lot of my mistake or learned from them of some mistakes I did myself. So listening to people who had already been there, because I was a cocky young 20-year-old that thought I knew everything and nobody was going to teach me anything. So I wish I would have had more mentors sooner.
That is one that we all regret, I think, is not hiring mentors sooner or not up leveling our mentors sooner. Well, Caleb, thanks so much for coming on the show. What's the best way to get in for folks to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can send me an email at cdavis@3doors.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Caleb Davis REI. And I would love to answer any questions and help anybody out in any way.
Well, and folks, you should definitely take him up on this. He is a wealth of information. He's quite impressive. I only wish I'd been half as smart as you, Caleb, when I was 30. Just half.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah. And if anybody wants to listen, we do have a podcast, doorstodeals.com.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to bring that up. And be sure and check out
if I'm allowed to shout that out.
The Three Doors website too. They have a lot of resources on there. You can learn a ton about their business, but they have an awesome podcast, which is how I met Caleb. And they are able to help a lot of people. And they have a unique strategy around the Three Doors concept. And so take a little time and learn more about that. This is such an interesting company that this is the second person from the company that I've interviewed. I interviewed Jim Manning also. So Caleb, once again, thanks so much for coming out today. I appreciate it. I know you woke up sick this morning. You should have called me. But and thanks to all the listeners for coming out today. And I will see you guys same time, same place next week. Bye for now.